All right, welcome back to another episode of On the DELO, and this is episode 119. That's 119 for those of you that are dyslexic. Is that, or yeah,
that's so awesome.
It'd be 911. Oh my God, it's 911. You're thinking backwards. It's an emergency, people. So I have my new friend Tyler in. How are you?
Oh, great! I'm sure you brought me here for my intro dance, which was amazing. I'm certain
the intro dance was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Some people just don't even know what to think. They just kind of sit frozen. They're like, oh wait, shit, I'm on video too. Wait a minute. So this will be aired on YouTube as well, which we've been getting a lot of views on, which is pretty amazing. So
that's awesome.
So I say new friend because I just met you, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, about a month ago at a local First Arizona event.
Yeah. Actually, my first one I ever went to too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that was like a mile from my house. That's why I went, because I go to bed at 8, and so I'm like 6 o'clock. I can be home by 7. I can do my teeth. I can make this.
Yeah, that's the same with me. If I'm not in bed by 9, I don't know. Like, there's something wrong.
So when did that? Let's talk about that, because this is very interesting. When did that change for you? Like, when did bedtime become 9 o'clock?
Jeez, that's a good question. Well, I used to wake up at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and like that lasted years and years and years.
Yeah.
It's actually only like kind of like. I sold my last company a couple of years ago, and then like that habit kind of like died a little bit, like in the interim. And so I'm not waking up quite as early these days, but I think that's what, eventually led to the 9 o'clock bedtime too.
And do mornings motivate you in the aspect of, not that you need motivation, but it's the morning. It's like the freshness of being alive again.
I love the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky too. Like I think super blessed is like, I used to wake up, or even like before I went to bed, I looked to my workouts as like Christmas the next day. So like I'm like 8 o'clock at night, I'm like, sweet, it's almost time to go to bed. And then bed means getting up to work out. And like that was like Christmas for me. So
what's your morning routine? Do you actually drink coffee in the morning to kind of or do you just go straight to the gym? Or
I go to the gym, and usually I do. It used to be like way different. Like I've had some back issues and stuff like that, but I used to go train at a MMA gym.
Oh, that's right.
And then I would go lift weights. Now I hit the heavy bag, I lift weights. I have to do it by myself now because I got to be capable of my back. And then plus, if you're around people, I'm gonna push myself stupidly, basically.
Yeah,
so.
You don't know which way they're gonna jerk you, left or right, and then what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I'm still trying to get my back to come around so I can get back to some of that stuff. But that's the morning for me. I do it 7 days a week. I don't know how to do without it. Like I don't know how to wake up.
It's your medicine, man.
It is. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. All right, speaking of medicine, the first time ever, we're going to try a product that was sent to me. It's called Magic Mind, and you're going to be my victim.
Okay.
So
I hope I can still drive after this.
Yeah, I do too. Let's see. This is a productivity elixir, and it looks like it's to boost energy and focus. So, elevate mental clarity. Again, whatever. Let's see what happens.
So do we chug this like a shot or like? Okay.
Yeah, I think like a shot. So we're gonna just try this. Again, it was nice for these guys to send this. I don't know anything more than this. So all right.
Crush procrastination.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers
Here we go.
to you, my
friend. Cheers to non-procrastinating.
So if you're not a procrastinator, are you like all of a sudden superhuman?
Maybe. We'll see what we feel like at the end of this 30 minutes.
Oh, man, it worked good on me.
Tastes pretty good. Yeah. All right.
Now I'm a little bit worried about what I'm going to say,
All right, very cool. All right, well, let's just get into it. So you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Why don't you define that for me? What does that mean?
I don't even call it serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
I'm just a guy that was afraid to open his first business, started a bunch of other ones, learned a lot along the way, made a million bad mistakes, outworked those. And then now I try to use business as a key to everything I'm doing, and more so the premise being helping people. Right. Yeah. And so I've learned a lot between what's a first world, kind of business and how do I say this in a way that's still business should take care of you, right? It has to.
Right.
But I also think that business can be an amazing mission, a way to monetize yourself, your finances, and then get to an amazing mission. I look at business as a much bigger thing than just starting a business, right? So I can have a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's an ecosystem of many facets of things that operate, kind of like your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that could be, Patagonia is one of my favorite stories, you know, where he started he was a rock climber, loved the mountains, right? And wanted the mountains to be around for future generations. And so I make this point all the time. It's like, he could have started a charity, right? Because he loves the world. And maybe he had some rich friends, raises a couple $1 million a year. Instead, he starts Patagonia, gives a percentage of the clothing every year. And then he sold his shares recently. They were $3 billion. All of it went to that, right?
Wow.
So people, what I'm saying to this is like, business is the ultimate like change maker, you know? Like, I don't think people think about that enough when they're thinking about their business. And so like, I kind of like have made all the mistakes in business, and now I like implore people, it's like, yes, start a business. And it's not always do what you love, you know? Like, business can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's easier to make money in some other directions, but business can be an incredible change maker. So that's what I like try to get out to the world. It's like, and I make this point too, this shot's got me going now. So it's like, I make this point often too. It's like, we have a new foundation for AJL foster kids called Foster Connections.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know, if Elon Musk had grown up in the foster care system, would it look like what the stat is right now? 90% of the people on California death row, foster care system.
Wow.
60% of sex traffic victims, foster care system. You know, it's like, so if Elon had grown up in that, he would have changed that, right? And that's like kind of the crux of what we do these days too. We help people that are unlikely entrepreneurs make it a little bit easier. And I don't mean the work, you know, I just mean the red tape.
Yeah, no. Wow, this is great. Okay, we're going to have some fun. So I want to kind of just start so people have some sort of relativity other than you're just my new friend. What was the first business that you had started and why?
So the first business I started was, and it actually started, I was in college pursuing a biochem degree, had a full-time barge hunting job at the same time.
So you're an idiot.
Yeah, I was glutton for punishment.
I mean, you're really smart. Biochemist is not dumb.
I loved it, honestly. And there's a story how I got there, because I originally went to school and I thought I was told I was stupid my whole life, and so I didn't think I could do it. Wow. And so the biochem degree at first was like, oh, I can actually kind of do this. I was enrolled in business classes, and then like it went to, you know what, I'm going to show them. What's the hardest degree they have at this university? And the biggest name I could think of was biochemistry. So I took it, and I loved it. You know, it's like, it's fitness, it's life, it's, you know, it's like, it's allowed me, like, I think that's the reason I'm so good at what I do now. Because people are always like, well, you don't use biochemistry. It's like, hell yeah, I do. I'm like, not everybody thinks, like, I don't know, how do I say that? I'm no genius. But I'm really good at boiling stuff down so I can understand it, and then I can explain it to anybody. And so that's how I got through my degree, is like, here's a complex subject. I need to simplify this so I can understand it. Now I can do well within it, right? And I do the same thing with business and, you know, finance and accounting and things like that.
You went and tackled probably what's one of the most difficult things to make your life not easier, but to understand it in a more simplistic approach and be able to dissect it better.
I think that's ultimately what it trained me to do,
Yeah.
is like breaking down complexity, right, into simplicity.
Why do you think, and I know you're a mentor and a coach and you talk to a lot of people, so let's get into the aspect of your thoughts. Why do you think most people struggle or they shy away from that, that aspect of taking on life, let alone just going and getting a job?
Yeah. I think like it's fear.
Yeah.
For the most part. And then it's like, I call it seeing it possible, right? I was raised kind of rough, you know? And so like at first I didn't think it was possible to do any, like business. That's why you asked me my first business is like, I begrudgingly got into my first business. I thought business was for somebody that like had a rich dad or, and like something like that. It's like, I was pushed into it because the city of Scottsdale got mad at me for ripping apart cars in my backyard. So, and that became, like opening like an auto shop, to then like, it doing well and opening another location, and then having clients like the WWE, Facebook, like laundry list of other big names, and then eventually doing more light manufacturing for local new vehicle dealers and things like that. So cool. Yeah, so it's the fear, I think, to go back to your question. I think people are afraid at first, and then they don't see the advantage in working hard. Yeah. It's like, and I think that's the key to anything, especially if you're coming from nothing, is you got to work for it, right? It's like we're both on social media these days. We see that most entrepreneurs out there that are selling something are going, hey, it's easy. Buy this book, this program, this thing, you know, and pay me $100 and then you're going to make $1 million tomorrow. Right. You know, it's like, so I do a ton of working with young entrepreneurs. That is my hardest hurdle these days, is when I walk into a failing business and they're like, Tyler, I only want to work 10 hours a week. It's like, well, there's the number one problem, you know, and so it's the work.
That's so true, and I think that's a message that both you and I can give to a lot of people, that you don't just, actually, this is a great point. So I have people that come to me sometimes and they're like, hey, I want to do what you do. Cool. Yeah. No disrespect. That's great. I'll tell you what, put in 20 years. Put in nights, put in days, have no relationship with, you know, whatever side of the sex that you want to have a relationship with. Yep. Okay. And sacrifice pretty much everything. Yeah. Because that's what it's going to take. Yep. And people don't want the other answer.
They don't.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, when I sit down with somebody like you that's had success, we all have the same story.
We do, but here's the thing, and this is where I really want you to dial in at, because I'm very interested. Now, maybe you can get into it as much as you want, but correct me if I'm wrong. Your upbringing was not the best, right? You had a rough...
Yeah. I'm starting to talk about it more now, but Dad was in prison. Mom had big struggles, that sort of stuff.
So mine wasn't. Mine was perfect. Mine's like Leave It to Beaver bullshit. Like it was awesome. I've got 3 dads. I've got 2 moms. They're still all alive. They still love me. They gave me everything. I was pampered to a hilt. Not a big deal. Didn't struggle. Yeah. But that didn't hold me back from wanting to go and find my own struggles, make my own mistakes, and never have anything ever handed to me and create my own. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So there's 2 different upbringings for whatever reason. That's just what they were. Sure. Which means to me that if people really have it within them, or that understanding that they can make it happen no matter what. Yeah. And you always hear, like, from Tony Robbins and a lot of these very, very successful people that were either beat or had bad upbringings, this and that sometimes it just takes that in order to be successful. Because it's like, well, and I don't believe that. I believe anybody can be successful no matter what their upbringing. You just have to want it enough.
I agree 100%. And you already said the crux of the story. I worked nights. I worked weekends. I gave up relationships. That is the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't matter whether it was like this side, that side, whatever. It's like, are you willing to work for it? I don't care how you were raised. Are you willing to work for it? You know? And so there can be a lazy kid that was grown up like me, or a lazy kid that grown up like you, and they're not going to get it. Maybe they're going to have somebody, like you got somebody out there that's like Bill Gates' son. I'm not bragging. I don't even know if he has a son, but it's like, he's probably got some advantages, right? You know, like if he wants to do something, he's probably pretty well supported in that, you know? And so, but at the ultimate end of the day, it's like, they got to get off their butt and they still got to do it. And I actually applaud people, like I talked about if Elon Musk was in the foster care system. Yeah. I applaud people for having a heart for the systems that they were never a part of too.
1000%.
So it's like, it's easier for me because I have a heart for systems that I was a part of. Like I was personally involved with these systems that make me so mad. Like there's a lot of passion there, you know, so it's like, it swells my heart, sure, but what about the people that never experienced that and they still have a heart to want to change it, right? And they still give up time and resources. And in a way, that's more beautiful, you know?
Because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all looking for a sense of community. I really think that.
I agree.
And when we live in a world that is really pulled apart, especially, you know, as we talk about social media and the choices that people take to look at and, how do I say, stand on one side or the other, at the end of the day, and I was just talking about this with the mayor of Tempe, it doesn't really matter what your political views are or any of that. Most of the time, people are 90% together.
Agreed.
On pretty much everything.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We want to live in the world of kindness too. And you know, it's like, that's what's so frustrating about what's going on. And that's why people like you and I need to be out there being more of a voice of reason. Yeah. A lot of my content is not popular. You know, I'm not the guy that's going to tell you it's easy to do anything. Right. I'm the guy that's going to tell you got to bleed for it. You know, it's like, nobody wants to hear that for the most part, but.
And your content content's great. I did, you know, obviously I do research for this podcast, and so I stalk people a little bit and I read through it. And when I look through your stuff, it resonates, and it's mainly you staring in your phone, you know, camera. It's your handsome face right there, but you're just telling it the way that it is, you know. And for somebody even like, you know, whomever it is, if they can get a message out of that, they can tell the authenticity is there, which is very cool.
I appreciate that. It's been a huge hurdle for me.
Yeah.
Like my Instagram's Tyler Uriah. That's not my name.
Right.
You know, that's my pseudonym account that I invented because I was too afraid of social media.
Yeah.
I turned down 4 reality shows in my first business. You know, I was afraid of, we put out like 5 videos on YouTube in my first business. One of them's at 12 million hits right now. You know, it's like, I was deathly afraid of all this stuff. And then like, it's a long story. I did a 180 on it, you know, and now I have 2 podcasts. I'm the host of a docuseries. You know, it's like I work with a lot of people that are struggling with it too. It's like talking to a pro football player, Super Bowl winner, you know, it's like, and he's starting a podcast and he's too afraid to do it. He's like, Tyler, what if they don't want to listen to me? You know, it's like, you have good stories. You need to tell those good stories. I think like a lot of people are afraid to do it and they need to. So.
Well, I had a podcast on what I call earned wisdom, and people, when they put out their stories, they're sharing a gift with others.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What would the world be without stories?
No, and what would the world be without a platform that's positive like what you lend and what I, you know, hopefully lend to people to be able to, you know, present that and for others to listen to. That's what it's about.
One of my biggest phrases is these days, it's like, evil has no problem using this tool.
Yeah.
Evil has no problem using this tool.
That's so true.
Good needs to use it too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and that's where, like, that's what I love. We're using it a lot to like do charitable stuff. You know, it's like education awareness around bullying, around small business, starting as underdogs.
Love it.
Around our docuseries where we travel the world looking for founders of amazing organizations.
Yeah, talk about that. How did that all start?
You know, honestly, it's such like it's a 2-hour conversation, but like I'll put it a little bit more simply. I think the biochemistry degree was teamed with this too. It's like I read I started becoming more in tune with like the world and wanting to do something more than that. You can call it like transcendence or whatever you want. If you want to look at Maslow's hierarchy, it's like Tyler had already done a lot in his life and like learned pretty quickly that like there's more to life than the beautiful significant other, the car, the house. You know, don't get me wrong, have that stuff. You know, you've earned it. But there is more, right? And so like reading this article, it was called Silly White Girl. And it was this girl that goes over to Africa and she's building schools with her friends during the day. Okay. She wakes up one night and they're actually taking down what she had just built and repairing it because they weren't doing a good job, basically. So she comes home and she says, you know what? If you don't have a skill, stay at home and fundraise. That's the best way you can help the world. You know? And so like, I'm like young and like, I'm like, well, I don't want to stay at home. I want to travel the world. I want to help, you know? It's like biochemistry. Biochemistry is the pathway to becoming a veterinarian, becoming a doctor. You know, that was part of my mindset in jumping into it. And that's where I was going until I got distracted by my business. Okay. And so then it was like, that was still there, right? And now I'm in this very first world business. I'm building $400,000 cars. I'm working with the WWE. You know, it's like I'm dealing with rock stars and celebrities and athletes and all this stuff. And like, I was like, at night, I'm like reading like How Helping Hurts and Poverty Inc., the documentary. And I'm like, what good am I doing for the world? Yeah. And I almost left the business. You know, it's like that moment, like walked out the door. You know, it's like, I'm not doing anything for the world. It was so unfulfilling. You know, it was so first world. I had a guy crying because his car was going to be like a couple hours late, bawling as a grown man. And when you're reading books about like poverty and things like that, you're like, how important is what I'm doing? And Scott, our redefining hero, had a similar story, only much cooler, you know, like pivotal moment. Yeah. And so I got into like, what's the right way to help, right? Like really fascinated by this. And like one of the ways I saw is like I went to Nigeria one time and one of the members of my board of directors for one of my companies makes like $3 million, it's public, a year. And he's like, Tyler, why don't you tell me when you're doing these things? I would love to help. I have friends that would love to help. And, you know, it like came down to it's like I was being selfish by trying to be humble and quiet about what I was doing, you know? And so, and then that lended another thought. It's like, well, how can we bring awareness to good organizations where people want to help them, right? And so it's like, well, if Tyler could vouch for places by going to them, and then it became, well, let's vouch for them with a camera, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how Redefining Hero starts. It was basically we tell the story, we show the organization. I put the business lens on the organization too and tell you that it's a well-run establishment.
Yeah.
And then not only do we attempt to monetize the content itself, we bring awareness to the charity. We're attempting to do in the next episode, like if Patagonia wants to send me a shirt, I'll wear it, and then they just stroke a check to the charity.
Yeah.
This is 100% for charity too.
That's cool.
And then we teach them how to use their own content, YouTube, that sort of stuff when we're boots on the ground.
Dude, I love it. And
Thank
again,
you.
You're using that for good.
Yes. Content for good.
Content for good.
Yeah.
Hear that, Diddy?
Yeah.
Diddy's a good dude.
That's basically, we actually, our 501(c) is content for good.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we raise or attempt to raise funds through a podcast on bullying, where my co-host Clifford was a UFC veteran, number 5 middleweight in the world. We do a show where we interview people that were bullied. He was actually.
Yeah.
And then grew up to have success stories. And so it was top 5% of podcasts in its first season, which was pretty cool. People embraced it. And so when that monetizes, we'll actually bring that money to Arizona's teen suicide prevention, which Arizona is the biggest suicide rate in the country for teens, which is crazy.
It is crazy and really sad. Oso Brewery out here does they do a campaign where they actually brew beer with the cans with the suicide hotline number on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very aware, yeah.
See, that's a business making change, and that's my favorite stuff. It's like I love the way that people are and that's what I love about the younger generation. Everybody talks bad about them these days. It's but they care about who they buy from. Yeah. They want to have, your business needs to have a heart too. It's I applaud that. We're done with the corporate bureaucrats standing on the ivory tower destroying the world. I think maybe not.
No, I think so too. But my kids are 20 and 22, and they have a lot of concern and care about where they buy stuff and how they buy it. Yeah. And, the whole relation to what it comes down to.
I want to think that small business is coming back. That's a big fight that we are involved with. I want to think that people care about where they buy from.
Well, they need to support each other.
They do
at the end of the day, because when you have a lot of the bigger quote unquote corporations, and look, all good, all fine with this and that, but the problem. It comes into supply chain, gas prices, all these things that a lot of small businesses don't have the manpower that these bigger corporations have to do.
Yeah.
And so instead of just raising prices, it would be cool, and that's why I love Local First. Where you get to know all these small businesses, you just drive more traffic into them.
Yeah.
And get people to know them and promote them.
Yeah. And I love what they're doing. The reason we teamed up with them too is we do some of that stuff. We do free seminars. We have a workspace for free for small business people to come use it.
Love it.
And so we're really trying to do that. And to your point, even data, right? It's how well do businesses run when they have more data? I'd love to get, we're working on that in some of our technology, is getting small businesses more of their own data so they can make good decisions.
Data is everything.
It is. It's the crystal ball.
I just invented a tech app with my partners called Sinatra. And
that's right.
It's all about the data.
Yeah.
The restaurant data, the insurance data, all that sort of stuff. So
that's amazing.
Can certainly appreciate that. And it's funny, your story about the, what was it, white girl?
Silly white girl?
Silly white girl. So I was listening to a comedian, and he was talking about how, the Mormons will go on these missions.
Yeah.
And, the Mormons are these, pale-ass white dudes.
Yeah.
Go out on these missions. And God bless them, they're doing their work. But they'll go to Ecuador to go build a house, and it's dude, you're a teenage white kid, and the Ecuadorians know how to build their own houses.
Yeah.
It's so funny about how they go back and correct the mistakes.
Oh yeah. Well, even not to talk bad about Tom's shoes, I applaud for what they're doing, but it's they were buy a set of shoes, you get a set of shoes, and the next thing you know, those cobblers are out of business in those countries, and
totally.
So, or if you watch the documentary Poverty Inc. It's proven you can't just drop a bunch of rice off in Africa. It actually grossly affects everything that's going on there. We really need to look at systems in the right way to be involved with systems.
How important are systems to a business in the aspect of just any business? What's good advice to give to somebody that is looking to make their business more efficient? Where do they start?
That's tough on where to start, but I would put something in their head. I would put in their head, let's say you're going to franchise this thing someday, right? And give me a Bible for that business, right? And so every step of the process, write it down. I personally, so my business partner is a process genius, right? And so I'm a little bit more like, I like pen and paper, you know, like, so I use Post-it notes. But Post-it note your entire process or use technology like he does, you'll find like when it's laid out that it's like, you're like, why are we doing this? You know, it's like, and I mean as simple as like customer calls, Post-it note.
Right.
Now what happens? Receptionists answer the phone, right? And now it deviates. Okay, what kind of question is it? You know, where's it going? And do this for every process in your business. Sounds lame, but then now document that, right? And now you'll find like good processes. Now you can like have those processes mapped out, and then like you can find ways to use technology. It's like, that's the process we used to use. Now here's this piece of technology we're just going to plug in there. So you try to automate like in that way. But at the same time, what you're building is a viable business that like, I mean, I've sold businesses, you know, it's like one of the things that they love is when you give them a Bible of like how to operate the business, you know, or if you want to franchise it or something like that, if you have that, you know, so think very like that from the start. And then not only will it improve the success rate of your business, it builds it for the future. So.
For sure. Well, for sure. And it helps with the onboarding process and the training and all that stuff. You're not reinventing the wheel every single time and getting steps in the mix.
Yeah. And then go back to that process and be like, okay, well, this thing here doesn't work so good. Okay, let's look at that, right? And then like, and my business partner, what he's incredible at is like, once we map the process, he's like, here's this technology. I'm going to go, I hate this. I would never do this personally. I can't do it, right? But he'll test 6, 7 different technologies. He'll stand on the phone with them for an hour and a half or so, and then he'll plug in the best one, you know?
That's not me either.
No, it sounds miserable to me. And if you're at home, maybe like do some research before you get on the calls with them. But this will change their business life.
I think another important point of what we're discussing here is if you are able to, again, I'm just repeating shit that people hear all the time, find somebody to do the stuff that you are not good at and that you don't want to do.
And then like, I would also add to that, just know a little bit about it at least so you can manage it. So
that's a good point.
Because so one of the companies we have is an accounting firm. Accounting's a passion of mine, actually, because like I'm a nerd for accounting.
Nobody ever.
I know. Like I was telling him before we started, it's like I can teach somebody accounting in 3 hours by telling a fun story, and it's basically how I learned it. And all the way along, you'll think you're listening to a story, and you'll learn accounting, right?
Oh, that's funny.
And we'll like talk about like dumbing down the complexity, you know, to like operation. But it's like when I look at people, so I spent 2 years trying to save people's businesses. So like I would go in for free pro bono if they were losing their business, and I dive in with them to their business and try to help them. 9 times out of 10, it was like they didn't want to work or their bookkeeping was messed up, right? Their accounting, you know? And so like it gets really frustrating for me because then there's like professionals in these arenas doing these things and they're not doing them right, you know? And whether it's because they don't care or whether they don't know, I don't know, you know?
What are the businesses that you have right now?
Right now, I always feel like a fool when I like list, but
I asked.
So we have a production facility, and part of the production that we do is we have a arm that is just podcasting, including podcast management. I can probably put out there in the world. I don't think anybody will hit me with a rock. We've just signed on with John Jay from John Jay and Rich.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll be partnered with him on his podcast.
Nice.
So we do develop podcasts too within that company. We have an accounting firm. We have a marketing firm, and I always miss something along the way. But my biggest project that I'm working on besides the charity stuff is Glaive, which is our small business tech company. So like really everything is a component of Glaive, if you really want it. We have partners that manage each of these businesses, you know, it's like, so I own, but like I'm really partner.
And it's all symbiotic and synergistic of everything.
Somebody runs the accounting firm, somebody runs the production company and that sort of stuff.
Perfect. Personally, what are some of your non-negotiables every day? What do you have to do? What is it that makes you tick? What are the things? I mean, is it certain rituals or movements or foods or, you know, just anything?
No, I appreciate that question. Have to go to the gym. Absolutely have to do that. Have to feel like, to have a good day, I have to feel like I'm adding some value to the world, really, you know, and like that can be like through my businesses, I've made it so like there's value I add to the world through those, you know. I try to wake up every day with a smile on my face, no matter what happened the day before. I think that's super key. You know, it's like, because especially, you know, one of my businesses, I had 45 employees. You know, if I walk in there and I'm in a bad mood, it's going to affect the whole business. And so I've made it a point, like, no matter how I got to shake it off, you know, from the day before, I shake it off. And usually it's the gym, you know. I pray every morning, you know, and I do that, like, in front of everybody after I hit the boxing bag, you know? And so, like, I have no shame in it anymore. Like, it shouldn't be shameful of it, but usually it's something done in private. I don't do it in private anymore, you know? So
it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. But that, you know, that's what keeps me going. I generally, like, don't have enough time to eat. I run out of time all the time, you know? It's like, and so, like, I lose weight constantly, thanks to our food delivery service that never shows up these days. I balm stress with some chocolate cake. So, like, if you ever see me, like, eating chocolate cake in the corner, there's a chance that like was my go-to because something was hitting me that day. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Everybody has their different thing. And it's funny, the last guest we just had on hates chocolate.
Oh, man. I don't know what the world would be like without chocolate. Mine would be kind of boring. So.
Oh, that's fun. No, that's great. All right, I have some rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Converse or Vans?
Well, Converse. I'm wearing them now.
Yep, I thought that might be the answer.
Although I should say, Vans is amazing. They help. They help over in Cambodia. Scott Neeson and his foundation.
Yeah.
And so I might have to switch to Vans because, like, I'm so impressed. Converse is not, or excuse me, Vans is not even out there in the world talking about all the good they're doing in Cambodia, but they are. Vans, if you're listening, thank you so much for doing that. I probably am going to have to switch shoe types, and I've been wearing these for years.
That's really cool, and I didn't even know that, so that's all good stuff to know. Wow. Okay, cook at home or eat out?
Now, like, I have food delivered to me. Like, I don't have time for that. It used to be like I would, like, make, like, all my meals on a Monday, let's say, and that wasn't so much for nutrition. I mean, it's good nutrition too, but it's just time. Time's my thing with food.
So you're eating out at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brazil or China?
As far as going, or
whatever.
Well, one of my dreams is to go to Brazil and train jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So I've been to Thailand, and I've trained Muay Thai in Thailand.
Nice.
So, like, jiu-jitsu is, like, if I can ever get my back in order, I'd love to go to Brazil, do some kiteboarding, train jiu-jitsu. So I'd have to say Brazil for those reasons.
Perfect. I love it. Ocean swim or a hike in the Rockies?
Jeez.
These are so random.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, though. I'm going to choose the hike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then concert or sporting event?
Concert. You know, I was in the concert industry for a while. I haven't gone to that many that I haven't worked in my life.
I went to the Black Crows last night.
Oh, is that right?
So good.
Good for you.
Yeah. What's the last concert you've been to?
Oh, I went to a piano session the other day. A Swedish guy.
Okay.
A friend of ours from the group.
Yeah.
From AZ First Group. And so this guy was amazing. He'd play the piano, and then he'd get underneath it, and he'd play it like a harp, and then he'd pull out this mallet, and he's playing the wood underneath. Like, he used every part of that piano to create music. It was super cool.
I would have gone to that.
Yeah.
Oh. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tacos or pizza?
Tacos.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you strike me as a pizza guy.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I had it 2 days ago, so maybe I'm feeling tacos.
Mind or body?
Mind.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. And then ghost or Bigfoot?
I love any joke about Bigfoot, so I'm going to say Bigfoot. You know, like, yeah. We have this picture of my brother running, and he's, like, looking like Bigfoot, and so, like, I don't know, that comes to my mind immediately.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, if people, and I'll put all this in show notes, but if you just want to, you know, say whatever it is that you would like to be found or not found, or you know, anything to promote.
I'm easy to connect to, you know, and so at Tyler Uriah is my Instagram. I'll even dive in the non-follows once in a while to try to find, like, make sure nobody's needing help or something. You can look up glaive.biz. You know, it's like we're doing seminars for free. We have free workspace for people to use. If you're struggling, please don't pay $1,000 online for a LLC. It's free. Come down. You know, we actually just developed a technology where we you come in and you fill in blanks, and it populates into the form now. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. We'll talk off camera. I have thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll promote all this on the on the show notes and everything. But
cool,
dude, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Such a pleasure. I think you got me all jazzed up with this thing. I'm sorry, audience, for rambling if I did.
Dude, you can have one to go, right? So yeah, no, thank you everybody for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast, give it a 5-star. Don't be lazy, as my brother Jeremy Scott says. And you know, until next time, thank you everybody, and peace out.